The preparations for the wedding were meant to be a joyous occasion, but the selection of wallpaper for their future marital abode had transformed into a true ordeal. The groom stubbornly insisted on his mother's preferences, disregarding the bride's feelings. "You're not choosing wallpaper for us, you're choosing it for your mother. Perhaps she'll be sleeping with us too," the young woman finally blurted out, unable to contain herself. But her ironic question hung in the air, unanswered, as her mother-in-law emerged from the bathroom, clad in her robe. Greetings, dear listeners. I'm delighted to welcome you to my channel. I present a new and engaging story for your enjoyment. Please sit back and listen. Lyudmila Kravtsova never considered herself a contentious person. On the contrary, her friends often described her as too gentle, excessively accommodating. Perhaps this is precisely why she turned a blind eye to Dennis's peculiar behavior for so long. They had been dating for a year and a half. Throughout this time, he had meticulously avoided any discussion about his mother. Lyudmila knew that Dennis was an only child, that his father had left the family when Dennis was 10, and that his mother had worked 3 jobs to raise him. She knew these facts but didn't attach much significance to them, at least not initially. The wedding was scheduled for September. Lyudmila had inherited a small 1-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of the city from her grandmother, 42 square meters in a 9-story panel building. Nothing extraordinary, but it was her own. Dennis was renting a room in a communal apartment, so the decision about their living situation was clear. Lyudmila enthusiastically embarked on renovations, eager to create a cozy nest where they would begin their life together. The first warning sign appeared when they began selecting wallpaper. Lyudmila found a beautiful, understated, and stylish gray-beige pattern with a geometric design online. She showed it to Dennis on her phone. "Listen, how about we go with these?" Dennis scrolled through the gallery and pointed to a completely different option. These ones, with the little flowers. Lyudmila looked closer. The wallpaper was a pale pink, adorned with tiny rose bouquets and a gilded scroll border. It strongly resembled the styles popular about 20 years ago. "Dennis, but these look rather old-fashioned." "But they're cozy. My mother says flowers in the bedroom are a classic." "Mother." Lyudmila frowned. "What does your mother have to do with it?" "Well, I sent her photos to get her opinion. She's knowledgeable about these things." "About what?" "Dennis, this is my apartment, ours. We'll be living there, not your mother." "Why are you getting so worked up immediately?" Dennis fidgeted. "I just asked for an opinion. She's an experienced woman. She's been through 3 renovations." Lyudmila remained silent, but the unpleasant feeling lingered. In the end, they chose his mother's option, the gray-beige. However, Dennis remained disgruntled the entire evening. Then, strange things began to happen. Lyudmila would buy light fixtures, and Dennis would call his mother to consult. She would select curtains, and he would immediately grab his phone again. When it came to furniture, Lyudmila discovered that Dennis already had a complete list with accompanying photos. "What is this?" she asked, browsing through the screenshots on his phone. Mother picked it out. "Look how beautiful it is. A classic luxury set. Solid birch, carved legs." "Dennis, it costs $280,000 and looks like it belongs in a museum. But it's high quality, and the price is reasonable. Mother negotiated." "Your mother negotiated the price for furniture in my apartment?" "Well, yes. I brought her along to the showroom. I thought it would be nice. She was so diligent, taking measurements, talking to the salesperson." Lyudmila felt something tighten inside her. She exhaled very slowly. "Dennis, tell me honestly, are you choosing the furnishings for us or for your mother?" "What are you saying?" He even seemed offended. I just value her opinion. She's practically family already." Lyudmila wanted to object but stayed quiet. Their relationship was already fraying at the seams due to this invisible yet omnipresent third party. She hoped that after the wedding, things would improve. They would live separately, and Dennis would break free from his mother's total control. Mother-in-law Nelly Arkadievna Fisenko entered Lyudmila's life with a swift and grand entrance. At first, she simply came to meet her, then began making frequent visits. She was a large woman, around 55, with a permed hairstyle, a heavy chin, and a way of speaking as if everything around her rightfully belonged to her. Her signature phrase, "But I'm his mother," sounded like a universal key to unlock any door. "Denisik, my darling, open the door for Mommy." The doorbell rang. "My hands are full." Dennis rushed to open it. Nelly Arkadievna entered with enormous bags, overflowing with goodies. "I brought you some borscht, my little son, and some cutlets. You probably don't eat properly," she said, nodding meaningfully in Lyudmila's direction. "She feeds you only sandwiches." "I do cook, Nelly Arkadievna," Lyudmila replied curtly. "Oh, yes, but my boy has lost 5 kilograms in a month. I can see it." Lyudmila clenched her teeth. Dennis had indeed lost a little weight, but only because they had both been rushing around to shops, carrying furniture and renovating. However, explaining this to Nelly Arkadievna would be futile. The mother-in-law made a habit of visiting on weekends, first for a couple of hours, then for half the day. She always found something to criticize: dust on the windowsill, a towel folded incorrectly, a pot left on the stove. "My dear Lyudochka, how could you do this?" She'd shake her head with feigned sympathy. "A home needs to be tidy, otherwise what kind of homemaker are you?" "We were painting walls until late last night, Nelly Arkadievna. I didn't have time to clean." "Precisely, you didn't have time. And a husband needs to live in cleanliness. A man should come home to a well-maintained house." Dennis, meanwhile, remained silent, engrossed in his phone, or would nod in agreement, even siding with his mother once. "Mom's right, Lyudmila, but it's unpleasant to live in a mess." Lyudmila walked out onto the balcony and stood there for a long time, gazing at the gray sky. She wanted to scream, but only squeezed the railing until her fingers ached. The renovations were completed by mid-August, or the apartment had transformed. It felt bright, spacious, and cozy. Lyudmila proudly arranged the new bedding, placed books on the shelves, and hung curtains with a lemon print in the kitchen. She felt as though everything would be fine now. On Saturday, they went to choose the final small items: a doormat for the entryway, a towel holder, a couple of decorative pillows. Dennis suggested stopping by his mother's to return a pot she had forgotten. Lyudmila didn't object. Nelly Arkadievna greeted them with a triumphant smile. "Denisik, Ludochka, come in. I just baked a pie. We'll have some tea." Over tea, she inquired about the renovations, chattered about neighbors, and asked about wedding preparations. Lyudmila relaxed. Perhaps her mother-in-law had finally accepted her. As they prepared to leave, Nelly Arkadievna suddenly handed Dennis a set of keys. "Sonny, I made you a spare set for the apartment, just in case." "But Mom, why?" Dennis twirled the keys in his hand. "Well, why? What if you lose them, forget them? Or what if I come to visit and you're not home? I'll be waiting on the landing like a stranger." Lyudmila became uneasy but remained silent. Dennis pocketed the keys. The next day, they went to the hardware store. They needed a couple of small items for the entryway. Dennis hesitated by the stand with coat hooks and pulled out his phone. "Listen, Mom said these are better." He showed a photo of some ornate curly hangers. "Dennis?" Lyudmila tried to keep her voice even. "This is my apartment. Our apartment. We will be living there, not your mother." "Well, yes, but she won't be living there." Lyudmila raised her voice and several shoppers turned to look. She paused, regained control of herself. "Listen, I understand you love her, but this is our space, our home. Why do I have to get her approval for every little thing?" "You're exaggerating." "I am not exaggerating, Dennis. Look at the truth. You're choosing hooks for my entryway after consulting with your mother. Maybe she'll be sleeping with us too." Lyudmila attempted a joke, but her voice broke. Dennis's face flushed crimson. "What are you even talking about?" "About the fact that your mother is already practically living in my apartment, mentally at least, and you're helping her with that." They didn't speak the rest of the evening. Dennis demonstratively went to his mother's, texting that he needed to think. Lyudmila remained alone in the empty apartment, which smelled of fresh paint and new furniture, and cried into her pillow. The next morning, Dennis returned with a bouquet and apologies. He promised he would no longer consult his mother about every minor detail. Lyudmila wanted to believe him. The week passed peacefully. They hung curtain rods, assembled a wardrobe, and unpacked the last boxes of belongings. Lyudmila had almost forgotten about their argument in the store. On Friday evening, Dennis announced he would be working late due to an inventory count. Lyudmila decided to take a bath, do a facial mask, and pamper herself. They had a meeting with the restaurant manager the next day to finalize wedding plans, and she wanted to look refreshed. She lay in the hot water, listening to music through her headphones, when suddenly she felt the bathroom door creak open. Lyudmila jolted, pulling out her earbuds. "Dennis?" There was no answer. She listened intently. Someone was walking around the apartment. Her heart began to pound wildly. Lyudmila leaped out of the bath, threw on her robe, and peeked into the hallway. Dishes were clattering in the kitchen. "Dennis, is that you?" she called out louder. "What, Dennis, dear?" Nelly Arkadievna emerged from the kitchen, wearing a bathrobe and slippers. "It's me, Sonny. He gave me the keys, so I came to see how you've settled in." Lyudmila froze. Her brain refused to process what was happening. "How did you get here?" "I told you, I have the keys." Nelly Arkadievna unceremoniously walked past Lyudmila into the living room, surveying the space. Oh, why did you choose these curtains? I showed Dennis different ones with lambrequins. No, these are really not right." "Nelly Arkadievna," Lyudmila found her voice, "are you serious? You entered my apartment without permission." "Oh, why are you getting so worked up? I'm not a stranger. The wedding is soon. We'll be one family." The mother-in-law approached the window and ran a finger along the windowsill. "There's dust here, you know. It needs to be wiped." "Get out." Lyudmila heard her own voice, icy and firm. "Immediately." "What are you saying, dear?" Nelly Arkadievna turned, and a look of unpleasant triumph flickered in her eyes. "I came to see my son. This is his home, after all. This is my apartment, mine, and you are an uninvited guest here. Not a guest, but your mother-in-law. Get used to it." Nelly Arkadievna sat on the sofa, crossing her legs. "And besides, Dennis and I have already agreed on everything. After the wedding, I'll be coming here on weekends. My apartment is small and cramped, but there's enough space here, and I'll look after the household, teach you how to cook properly." Lyudmila felt the ground disappear from beneath her feet. "What? What weekends?" "Well, my son said he doesn't mind. It's even convenient for him. I'll clean, do the laundry, cook dinner, and you work, you must be tired. So I'll help." "Have you lost your mind?" "Watch your tongue, dear. I am the mother of his only son. I raised him alone while you were still a little girl, and I have every right." Lyudmila no longer listened. She darted to her phone and dialed Dennis's number. Ring, ring, ring. "Hello?" His voice came through. "Dennis, your mother is in my apartment. She came here with the keys you gave her and is now declaring she's going to live here on weekends. Is that true?" A pause. A long, terrible pause. "Luda, let's talk calmly. Listen, we're grown adults. Mom is alone. It's hard for her. I thought we could, sometimes." Lyudmila hung up the phone. Her hands were shaking so much she could barely hold the receiver. Nelly Arkadievna watched her from the sofa, looking pleased like a well-fed cat. "See, dear, Sonny understands, so let's live in harmony. By the way, I borrowed your robe. I forgot mine. It's fine, isn't it?" And then Lyudmila snapped. All restraint, all politeness, all attempts to be agreeable flew out the window. "Take off my robe." She enunciated each word slowly, approaching her mother-in-law. Now! What do you think you're doing? Nelly Arkadyevna jumped up. I'm not some girl you can order around. Take off the robe, grab your slippers, and get out of my apartment. Lyudmila stepped closer. She was a head shorter than the stout mother-in-law, but at that moment she exuded such fury that Nelly Arkadyevna backed away. How dare you? I'll tell Dennis. Say whatever you want, but you're leaving right now. Sonny will protect me. He won't take your side. We'll see about that. Lyudmila took out her phone and turned on the camera. So, Nelly Arkadyevna, you entered my apartment using keys my fiancé gave you without my knowledge. You're wearing my clothing without permission. You refuse to leave the premises. I have every reason to call the police. Do you want me to? The mother-in-law's face turned purple. You're filming me? Turn it off immediately. I will not. Let Dennis see how his mommy behaves in someone else's apartment. Lyudmila brought the camera closer. Incidentally, the neighbor across the hall is a police officer. Do you want me to ask her to come over right now? It was a lie. The neighbor worked at a bank, but it worked. Go to hell. Nelly Arkadyevna ripped off the robe and threw it on the floor. Beneath it was her own greasy tracksuit. Bitch! I'll tell Dennis everything. He'll leave you. The door is that way. Lyudmila pointed with her hand, not lowering her phone. The mother-in-law rushed to the hallway and began putting on her shoes. Her hands trembled and fumbled. She slipped her feet directly over her slippers and grabbed her bag. You'll regret this. You'll regret it, she shouted, flinging the door open. The keys, Lyudmila reminded her coldly. What keys? The ones my idiotic fiancé gave you. Hand them over now. Nelly Arkadyevna rummaged in her purse and threw the bunch of keys on the floor. They clattered as they rolled across the parquet. I hope you die, bitch! The mother-in-law snarled and bolted out the door. The slam was so powerful that the windows rattled. Lyudmila leaned against the door frame, her legs giving way. She slowly sank to the floor in the hallway, and only then realized she was crying. Tears streamed down her face from anger, from humiliation, from relief. Dennis arrived an hour later. He burst into the apartment, red-faced and breathless. What are you doing? Mom is crying her eyes out. She says you kicked her out. Threatened her with the police. Lyudmila sat in the kitchen with a mug of cooled tea. She didn't even turn around. Your mother entered my apartment without permission, put on my robe, and announced she's going to live here on weekends. And it turns out you knew about it. Not live, just visit sometimes. Luda, but she's my mother. This is my apartment. My God, why are you clinging to that? Mine, we're going to be a family. We will be. Lyudmila finally looked at him. A family of 3. You, me, and your mommy. Are you exaggerating? No, Dennis, you're exaggerating. You gave the keys to my apartment to a stranger without asking me. You promised her she could live here without consulting me. You chose her over me every single time, every damn time. And you think I'm going to marry you? Luda, the wedding is off. She said it quietly but firmly. Pack your things. You have half an hour. You're serious? Over one stupid argument? Because of Mom? Not because of Mom, because of you. Lyudmila hugged herself. Because you're a doormat. Because I don't need a man who can't set boundaries, who brings Mommy into my bathroom, my bedroom, my life. I don't need that. Dennis opened and closed his mouth like a fish out of water. Then he turned and went to the closet. He threw clothes into a bag, angry and offended. At the threshold, he turned back. You'll regret this. No one will marry a shrew like you. At least I'll sleep soundly, Lyudmila replied, and my apartment will be free of strangers. The door slammed shut. This time it was quiet, almost mournful. Lyudmila stood in the middle of her apartment, clean, bright, smelling of freshness, her own, solely her own, and smiled through her tears. The next day she had to cancel the banquet, return dresses, and call guests. Lyudmila's parents were initially shocked, then supportive. Her mother said, "You're a good girl, darling. Better now than in a year with a child in your arms. Lyudmila changed the lock that same evening, called a locksmith, and had a new, secure one installed. Now, no one but her could enter. Dennis called for 3 consecutive days, sending messages. First he swore, then apologized, then promised to fix everything. Lyudmila did not respond. On the 4th day, he sent a voice message from his mother. "Lyudochka, my sweet," came Nelly Arkadievna's shaky, tearful voice. "Please forgive me, an old fool. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just worried about my son. Let's forget everything. Let's start anew." Lyudmila deleted the message without finishing it, then blocked both numbers. 3 months later, she started a new job at a design studio called A Long-Held Dream. The salary was higher, and the team was friendly. In the evenings, she attended yoga, met with friends, and read books she had never had time for before. One day in the supermarket, she bumped into Dennis. He stood at the sausage counter, looking lost and dejected. Nelly Arkadievna hovered nearby, loudly berating the sales assistant for slicing the sausage too thickly. Dennis saw Lyudmila and turned pale. She nodded at him politely, as one would to a distant acquaintance, and walked past. She heard her mother-in-law's flustered voice behind her. "Denisik, who was that?" "Nobody, Mom, nobody at all." That evening, Lyudmila made tea, settled on the sofa with a book. It was drizzling outside, but the apartment was warm and quiet. Her phone vibrated. A message from her colleague Anton, with whom she was working on a joint project. "Coffee tomorrow, or are you busy?" Lyudmila looked at the screen, at the cozy room, at her reflection in the dark glass. Calm, free. Tomorrow is perfect waiting. She put down her phone, leaned back against the cushions, and closed her eyes. The apartment smelled of lavender and freshness. No more strange containers of borscht. No more uninvited guests with keys. Only silence. Only her life.